Man, I love you guys already. I should say as well, I'm from New Zealand, just in case. Oh, thank you. Oh, in case anyone was trying to figure it out. Some of you guys just sitting there like, what's more submissive than Canada? Whoa. Yeah, we look up to you guys. We actually do. No, we do. Like, your military, wow. They exist. So freaking hot. It was funny. One of my friends recently was like, oh, Sophia, I found this article about how to pick up Kiwi women. And I read the article, and one of the tips in it was connect with her on her culture. Things like binge drinking. I was like, damn, how did they know about this? Well, no, I am a Kiwi, and it's funny, my dad's not your classic, like, Kiwi manly man. My dad, this is true, my dad was a professional poet. Yeah, okay, well, thank you. So when I was a kid, I'd be like, Mom, why is Dad crying again? And she'd be like, because the moon was too beautiful. Yeah, he was a pussy. Toughen up, Dad. What's it like growing up with a poet, Father? You didn't ask? I'd be like, Dad, have you seen my red sweater? And he'd be like, was it red? Or was it the color of red wine? The night my first wife left me. I'd be like, okay, burgundy. And then he'd go, haven't seen it, love. Much like my first wife. So yeah, that can happen. But it's good that you guys believed I was from New Zealand. I had a show last weekend, and there was like, this very old man came up to me after the show, and he looked me up and down, you know, because you could do that in his day. Give me a little, you know. And then he said, gosh, you are from New Zealand. And I was like, yeah. And then he said, for real, he said, let me see your teeth. Yeah, and for some reason, like a prize horse, I was like, and then he came in and he looked at my teeth, and he was like, yep, definitely from New Zealand. They all have big teeth down there. Must be all the dairy. And then I just canted off. I was like, goodbye. Try and get out of an awkward interaction. I used it today. I had a kind of an awkward interaction on the ferry. I ran into one of my friends, and he's like a great dad, and he was there with his little 5-year-old daughter. You know, and you know when you try and be cool with a kid and you just bomb? Yeah. I was like, do you think these shoes are cool? And she was like, no, really. But then he was like, oh, sweetie, do you know what Sophia does for a living? And I was like, oh, here we go. You know, yeah, and then he said, she tells jokes. And then the kid went, is she afraid of working? Yeah. Nothing hurts like the absolute truth. I was just reeling, you know, and then he tried to fix it. You know, he was like, oh, you know, she probably just sees how hard I work and how hard her mom works. And I was like, no, keep going. You're explaining it really well. I was really just having an epiphany. I was like, I am afraid. I was having a lot of epiphanies on the ferry because I was looking out at the ocean and I realized, I was like, oh, mermaids were just guys' way of believing that there's still chicks out there. Yeah, they're like, they're out there. They're in the sea. I'm gonna find them. Because back in those days, women were considered bad luck on ships, right? So there was all these male voyages. Yeah, which I totally understand. Yeah, if I was a woman on a ship back in the day, I would start some drama. Yeah, I'd be like, the captain doesn't like you. And then I'd go to the captain. And I'd be like, if your crew didn't respect you, would you want to know? like, God, she's good. This girl has dated. I have. You know that thing when you first get into a relationship, that kind of energy, and they'll always tell you about fights they had with their ex-girlfriend or whatever, you know? Yeah, right? That face. Yeah, and you'll always be like, what? How could she? And then a year later, you're like, me and Amanda both feel. Yeah, you and Amanda have become a team. She is the other witness at the trial. I totally get it. Like, I haven't had like a lot of big fights lately, but I did have a huge fight with my best friend. And I realized I've never done that, like had the kind of fight that you would have with a boyfriend, but with a girl. And it was so good. Oh my gosh, because I was like, yes, but in October the year before last. And she was like, yes, I do remember that. Good point. Yeah, you can't do that with a guy, right? Because that is all inadmissible evidence. He's like, well, why would you bring up the past? But with her, I was like, well, obviously the reason I bring it up is because it shows a pattern of behavior. As you can see on this chart that I prepared earlier, plotting incidents over time. And she was like, that is so helpful. I will take it to my counselor on Monday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have a lot of fights in my current relationship, but I had a lot of fights with my ex. But we broke up, and it was very difficult because I'd like just moved overseas when we broke up. So it was like and I didn't really have any friends here, so it was kind of like a tough breakup. Have you guys ever had that where you're like, oh man, I don't have a support network? So I called home and I talked to my mom, and I just like cried. I just told her every single thing, and just probably talked to her for 2 hours. And then the next day, I had an email from my dad, which I've saved to read to you tonight. Would you guys like to hear an email from my father? Okay, I've got it right. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, so from the top. Heading. Support! So that's all capitals. Yeah. Hi, Sophia. Heard about your breakup and am sending support. Much support, Dad. Yeah. And he was a poet. It's really tight syntax there from the...